Chapter 2. The sacred fire burned in the center of the mandip, its golden glow casting shadows across the stunned faces of the guests. The chants of the priest echoed through the vast ballroom. But to Aadhira, it felt like a deafening silence had swallowed her whole. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not as the bride. Not as the woman sitting beside Rudra Raichand, about to become his wife. The weight of the heavy silk dupatta draped over her head felt suffocating. A cruel reminder that her life was no longer hers to control. Every fiber of her being screamed to run, to fight, to do anything but sit there, and let herself be bound to a man who despised her very existence. But she had no choice. Not when the reputation of her family, the business empire her father had spent decades building, and the legacy her mother clung to so desperately. All of it depended on this farce of a marriage. Beside her, Rudra was a storm barely contained. His entire frame was rigid, his sharp jaw clenched so tightly she thought it might crack. The air around him pulsed with an undeniable rage, his dark eyes burning into her like a warning. One that promised retribution. When the priest instructed them to stand for the Pharaohs, Rudra moved first. He didn't offer his hand, didn't look at her. Just like Ishani would have wanted. Aadhira swallowed the sharp sting in her throat and followed him, her fingers curling into fists to stop the tremors that threatened to consume her. The moment they completed the final circle, sealing their vows, the priest's voice rang loud and clear. They were husband and wife. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. The world had just witnessed the perfect wedding. But behind closed doors, there would be nothing perfect about this marriage. The first night of war. The moment the doors to their bedroom shut behind them, Rudra exploded. With a sharp flick of his wrist, he ripped off his sherwani's heavy stole, throwing it onto the nearby chair. His movements were precise, controlled, but Aadhira wasn't fooled. He was livid. He turned on her, eyes cold, voice laced with venom. "You should have walked away when you had the chance." Aadhira bristled but refused to flinch under his piercing gaze. "You think I wanted this?" Rudra let out a harsh laugh, running a frustrated hand through his hair. "I don't care what you wanted, Aadhira." He took a step closer, and she instinctively backed up until her spine met the hard wood of the door. "But now that you're here, let me make one thing very clear." His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper, but the sheer dominance in it sent a shiver through her. "You are nothing to me." She swallowed hard, her nails digging into her palms. "I know." His smirk was mocking. "Good. Then you won't expect love, or respect, or anything a normal wife would have." Aadhira's heart pounded, but she lifted her chin. "And you won't expect obedience, or submission, or anything a normal husband would demand." His smirk faded. For the first time since this nightmare began, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Interest. Challenge. It disappeared as quickly as it had come, replaced by his usual unforgiving coldness. "Stay out of my way, Aadhira," he murmured, stepping even closer, until she could feel the warmth of his breath against her skin. "Or I'll make sure you regret ever taking my last name." She held his gaze, refusing to cower. "I already do." His jaw ticked, and for a moment, she thought he might say something else. But instead, he turned on his heel and stalked toward the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind him. Aadhira exhaled shakily, realizing she had been holding her breath. This marriage was going to be hell. But if Rudra thought she would crumble under his anger, he was sorely mistaken. Because Aadhira Varma Raichand didn't break. She fought back. And if this was war, she intended to win.